Welcome to the Live Well and Stay Healthy Wellness webinar series brought to you by the Family and Community Health Sciences Department of Rutgers Cooperative Extension. My name is Rachel Tansey, and I'm here with FCHS in Monmouth County, and I will serve as your host today. Very happily, we have a guest intern speaking with us with a very interesting topic on strength training for arthritis, power up your joints. So I'm sure this is a topic we can all benefit from, no matter our age or stage of whatever is going on in our lives. So before we move on, I just want to go over a few webinar logistics with you. First, that this webinar is being recorded, and as participants, you're all muted and your videos are turned off. So if you do have any questions, please post them in either the chat or the Q&A box, and the presenter will field those questions at the end of the presentation. Also, I just wanted to quickly review the cooperative extension structure for those of you who aren't familiar. Our Rutgers Cooperative Extension structure, our organization is an affirmative action equal opportunity employer, where RCE has a partnership between the Board of County Commissioners, Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, and the USDA's National Institute of Food and Agriculture. We have faculty and/or staff in all of the 21 counties here in New Jersey. And RCE is actually comprised of 3 different departments. We have the Agriculture and Natural Resources Department, which also contains our Marine Sciences Department. We have the 4-H Youth Development Department, and then our Department of Family and Community Health Sciences, or affectionately known as FCHS, where FCHS provides outreach in New Jersey and beyond on topics related to nutrition, chronic disease prevention, food safety, and overall wellness. So we hope you'll visit us on our website and see us on social media for different nutrition and wellness related resources. So now I'll introduce our presenter, Angela. Angela is currently a dietetic intern at Rutgers University and holds a Master's of Science in Nutrition as well as a bachelor's degree in exercise science. She has a passion for helping others achieve optimal health, where she combines her knowledge of nutrition and fitness to guide individuals toward living their most healthy and fulfilling lives. So without further ado, I will turn things over to you, Angela.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm very excited to be here with you all today to give this presentation. Like Rachel said, I have my undergraduate degree in exercise science from Rutgers. After that, I got my master's in nutrition from Johnson & Wales University. And right now I'm pursuing my registered dietitian at Rutgers. So I'm excited to be touching this topic with you today on strength training for arthritis. It won't just be strength training. I can't not talk about nutrition. It's a very big passion of mine, so you'll see at the end I'll wrap up with that. So as many of you know, or maybe many of you have dealt with or know someone dealing with, arthritis can be a daily struggle. Joint pain and stiffness often limit mobility and diminish overall quality of life for individuals. However, there is a powerful and effective way to manage these symptoms and improve overall well-being, that being strength training. Far from being a daunting endeavor reserved just for the young and athletic, strength training can be a safe and beneficial activity for people with arthritis. By focusing on enhancing muscle support, improving joint stability, and promoting overall health, this form of exercise offers a pathway to reclaiming your mobility and vitality. So in this webinar, we'll explore the impact of strength training on arthritis, we'll debunk common myths, and provide practical tips for incorporating it into your routine safely and effectively. Not only that, but like I said, we'll wrap up our session focusing on the impact nutrition can have on arthritis and how to plan nutrition specifically around your workouts. Please feel free to stop me at any point, put your questions in the chat, I'll address them at the end, but if there's something maybe I spoke too quickly about, or maybe I mumbled or rambled on, just write it in the chat and Rachel will stop me. I want this to be as interactive as possible. So with that being said, let's get into it a little bit. So here's our agenda for today. We're first going to talk about understanding arthritis, the different types, the symptoms, and the impact it has on our body. Then we're going to go into what strength training is and why is it important? What are the benefits of strength training and what are the benefits especially for those with arthritis? Then we'll get into debunking the common myths and misconceptions you might first hear when getting into strength training. And that'll lead us into the physical activity guidelines, We'll talk about how to get started with strength training, and then you'll see I have some exercises towards the end of the presentation that can be arthritis friendly and that you can incorporate into your daily routine. Then lastly, I'll talk about nutrition's impact. We'll talk about foods that promote inflammation in the body, foods that fight against it. And then we'll also talk about proper nutrient timing and when to eat these foods prior and post-workout, and also the importance of specific foods for your workouts. Someone once said to me, a workout under-fueled or not fueled enough prior and post is a workout wasted. So if there's one thing that you take away today, just make sure that you're understanding that nutrition has a huge role on our workouts, not only our workouts, but how our body feels overall, especially with those with arthritis. So I can't go on without talking about what is arthritis. I'm going to be giving you the benefits of strength training on arthritis, but let's talk about what it is first very quickly. Arthritis is a general term that refers to a group of multiple diseases characterized by inflammation, pain, and stiffness in our joints. The word derivation actually means arthur means joints and itis means inflammation, so it translates to joint inflammation. The three most common types would be osteoarthritis as the most common one, which is a degenerative joint disease where the cartilage that cushions the ends of our bones actually wears over time. This can lead to pain, swelling, and reduced range of motion in our joints. The most common areas where you see osteoarthritis would be in our knees, our hips, hands, and our spine. The second most common type would be rheumatoid arthritis, which is actually an autoimmune disorder where the immune system mistakenly attacks the lining of our joints, causing inflammation and eventual joint damage. Most commonly, this affects smaller joints like the hands and feet, but as the disease progresses, it can go on to other joints. And lastly, we'll talk about psoriatic arthritis, which is an inflammatory arthritis associated with the skin condition psoriasis, leading to joint pain and swelling. The areas most commonly affected by psoriatic arthritis would be like fingers and toes, and sometimes the spine. So before I can go into specific details about each type of arthritis, I wanted to give a general analogy. So I want you to think of your body as a well-oiled car. Your joints are the moving parts, like the wheels and the axles, and for the car to run smoothly, these parts need to be in good condition and properly maintained. Now to break it down even further, let's go by each type of arthritis. So osteoarthritis. Think of osteoarthritis as what happens when a car gets old and its parts starts to wear out due to years of use. The rubber tires, which can correlate to the cartilage in our body, they begin to thin and crack, and the metal parts correlated to our bones may start to grind against each other, causing wear and tear, friction, and pain and stiffness over time. This is osteoarthritis. Now compare this to rheumatoid arthritis. Imagine here that instead of just aging, a problem starts inside the car's system. The car's own engine maybe starts sending out harmful signals that causes parts of the car to corrode and break down prematurely. This is rheumatoid arthritis, where the body's own immune system attacks the joints, leading to inflammation, damage, pain, and ultimately joint deformities. Lastly, psoriatic arthritis. Not only now does the car have internal issues similar to rheumatoid arthritis, but it also has external features that are becoming damaged. Imagine that in this analogy, the car's paint is our skin, and it develops patches, and the tire rims can be our nails, and it starts to show pits and cracking. This represents psoriatic arthritis, where there's both internal joint inflammation and external manifestations to the skin and nails associated with psoriasis. So that's a little of an analogy I like to give. It's a very common one, but I like to break it down by each type of arthritis. Okay, so getting more into detail about each common type of arthritis, let's start with osteoarthritis, which is, I said, the most common. So this is a chronic joint condition characterized by the breakdown and actually eventual loss of the cartilage in our joints. Cartilage, if you don't know, is the firm rubbery material that covers the end of bones. It serves as a cushion, allowing for smooth movement of the joints, and it absorbs shock and impact to the joints. So when osteoarthritis occurs, this cartilage actually wears down over time, leading to pain, leading to swelling, and problems moving the joint. So the bones begin to rub against each other, and sometimes you'll hear your doctor say it's bone on bone. So this cartilage, when it's bone on bone, is completely gone. As the cartilage breaks down, the bones themselves can undergo changes. So this can include maybe the formation of bone spurs, which are small projections that can develop along the edges of the bones and joints. It's very painful and very uncomfortable. Although osteoarthritis is not characterized as an inflammatory condition, there is inflammation that can occur to the joint lining, which contributes to this overall joint pain and swelling. The degeneration of cartilage and changes in the overall joint structure can lead to decreased range of motion, leading to stiffness and then difficulty performing everyday activities. The second one, rheumatoid arthritis, like I said, is an autoimmune disorder. And basically, it's caused by our immune system mistakenly attacking particularly the synovial membrane of our joints. This is what surrounds the joints. So once it's attacked, it causes inflammation in our joints. This leads to the thickening of the membrane, which can eventually destroy the cartilage and bone within the joint. So if maybe some of you have rheumatoid arthritis or know someone with it, someone in my life actually has rheumatoid arthritis, and I know that when they flare up, it's actually symmetrical. So if one knee is inflamed or one hand is inflamed, it's very likely that the other hand or knee is inflamed as well. So that's one way that doctors diagnose rheumatoid arthritis, is if it's that symmetrical inflammation patterns. Joints that are commonly affected first by rheumatoid arthritis include the fingers and toes, but as the disease progresses, it can spread to the wrists, knees, ankles, elbows, hips, and shoulders. Unfortunately, there's no cure, but early diagnosis and aggressive treatment can help manage symptoms and actually slow the disease's progression. And lastly, psoriatic arthritis. It is a chronic inflammatory arthritis associated with psoriasis, which is a skin condition characterized by red scaly patches. It can affect the joints, causing pain and stiffness, but the severity of psoriasis does not always correlate with the severity of arthritis. It's very individualized. It can present either symmetrically, like rheumatoid arthritis, or asymmetrically. And usually it involves enthesitis, which is inflammation at the sites where the tendons and ligaments actually meet the bones. So psoriatic arthritis, one way to tell is if there's inflammation around the tendons and ligaments in the bones. It can also cause nail changes, like our analogy, such as thickening and separation from the nail bed, as well as skin lesions. So now that we know what each of the common types are, let's read over the statistics. So during 2019 through 2021, approximately 53.2 million, or 21.2% of US adults 18 years or older, have some diagnosed form of arthritis. Now that's diagnosed. Think of how many people who aren't going to the doctor and getting diagnosed. And also, it was more prevalent among women than men, and more prevalent among non-Hispanic white adults rather than Hispanic or Latino or non-Hispanic Asian adults. And from that study, actually, it was found that 70% experienced symptoms of arthritis or joint pain. So that was on a survey that they gave the study. And all the studies I'll give you are evidence-based research. So they are from either randomized control trials or big data analyses. I just want you to know that these facts are just not pulled from the internet. This is evidence-based research, and it's something that we pride ourselves on at Rutgers. They're not just Google facts. These are studied, and they're very credible sources. So now let's get into it a little bit. So now that we know arthritis, we know the common types, we know some of the signs and symptoms, how are we going to incorporate strength training into our daily routine, and what is it? So strength training is sometimes referred to and most commonly interchangeable with resistance training. It's a type of physical training designed to improve muscular strength and endurance. So it involves working against a force or resistance to stimulate muscle contraction, leading to overall muscle growth and increased strength over time. Now, there's 5 types of strength training I wanted to talk about today. The first one being free weights. So this can include, and I have the videos here, so if you just follow across, these can include dumbbells, which are the handheld weights that can be used for a variety of different exercises. Free weights also include barbells, which are the long bars attached with weight on the ends, like you see in the middle there. And then kettlebells, which are weights with handles on top that are most commonly used for swinging and lifting exercises. Then we have our resistance machines. These are the machines that you typically find in commercial gyms, and they guide the individual through a specific range of motion. So think of something like the leg press you see here right next to resistance machines. It's guiding the person through a specific range of motion, and then the person is able to exert force against it to push up the weight. And then to the right here, you see something like a Smith machine that can be used for a variety of different exercises. And it's just basically another way of having assistance through your workout through that range of motion. The third thing we can do is body weight exercises. So forget the equipment, forget the machines. These are just exercises that uses our own body weight as the resistance. So think of exercises like push-ups, like you see here, pull-ups, and body weight squats to the right. So these are sometimes more difficult, but I think as your body gets used to it, you'll be able to start off with body weight exercises and then increase to weights. The fourth exercise we have is resistance bands. So resistance bands provide resistance when stretched and can be used for a variety of different things. And you see this woman here using the resistance bands to do basically like shoulder presses. And that's working not only her shoulders and arms, but it's also working her back. So resistance bands are a great tool to use and can be used in different modalities. Last, I just want to talk about plyometrics, which are more of our explosive movements like box jumps, like you see this little girl doing. These type of exercises build strength and power, and it's not something that you would probably start with right off the bat if you're new to strength training, but could be something you work up to, but it's really more for power athletes. But it's a great strength training tool. So now that we know the different types of strength training, let's talk about the benefits. What is in our control? What can we do to alleviate some of the symptoms caused by arthritis through strength training? My 2 responses to you, and I'm completely biased through my education and through my passions, would be exercise and diet. That's what we can control. This may not be the first answers for you, but bear with me. I hope I can show you why these 2 are most important. So strength training benefits for arthritis. The first one being increased strength. So increased strength improves our ability to move and exert force, making daily activities easier. So thinking of things like getting out of bed in the morning, or maybe taking the garbage out at night, or even getting up off the floor after playing with your grandchildren. These things won't seem as daunting and exerting as they once used to be once our strength is increased. The next benefit of strength training for arthritis is it improves our bone density. It's actually proven in scientific studies that weight-bearing exercises can increase bone density and reduce our risk of osteoporosis. And just as a fact, our risk of osteoporosis as we age increases. Our next one would be enhanced joint health. So when you strengthen the muscles around the joints, it provides better support for the joints and reduces our risk of injuries. The fourth one being reduced inflammation and pain. Regular strength training has been shown to reduce systemic inflammation in the body overall. And by lowering the levels of inflammatory markers, it can actually help manage and reduce chronic inflammation associated specifically with arthritis. Fifth one, which is probably the most important one to me, is it increases the synovial fluid circulation around the joints. So engaging in strength training regularly increases the blood flow and the circulation of fluid within the joints. This is the fluid that lubricates our joints, and it reduces the overall friction and wear, which helps diminish overall pain and stiffness associated with arthritis. And lastly, weight management. Strength training contributes to muscle growth and a higher metabolic rate, which can aid in weight loss or weight maintenance. Reducing excess body weight actually lessens the load on weight-bearing joints such as knees, hips, and spine, thereby reducing our overall pain. So let's dive into it even further. Enhanced joint stability is one of the benefits strength training gives for those with arthritis. But how? Like I said, it strengthens our muscles. Strong muscles around a joint provide better support and stability. It helps to reduce the stress placed directly on the joint itself, which can alleviate pain and improve overall function. So think of it as an example, strengthening the quadricep muscle on your thigh here can support the knee joint, or strengthening the muscles around the hip can improve your hip stability. This can lead to improved joint alignment as well. Stronger muscles help to maintain the proper alignment of joints during movement. So there's not this significant amount of wiggle room or movement for the joint to become out of place. This can prevent abnormal joint movements and reduce wear and tear on the joint surface itself. This third one is enhanced proprioception. All you need to know, that's a complicated word. All we need to know is that strength training actually enhances and improves our proprioception, which basically is the body's ability to sense positioning and movements of our joints, kind of keeps our body in balance. So stronger muscles helps to maintain this and increase our proprioception. It helps to keep movements in better coordination, and it reduces our chance of injuries. Our body actually has cells in every muscle and joint called proprioceptors that are responsible for coordinating movement. And it's been proven that through strength training, the number of these cells are actually enhanced. For number 4, like I said briefly earlier, it increases our bone density. So weight bearing and resistance exercises have been shown to actually increase the bone density, providing a stronger and more solid foundation for our joints. Strength training reduces our overall pain with arthritis. How does it do this? It reduces the joint load, like I said. It strengthens the muscles around the joints to actually help distribute the forces more evenly across the joint surface. So this distribution can actually lessen the direct impact and pressure on the arthritic areas, thereby reducing our pain in that area. Once you reduce the joint load, then you reduce the inflammation. Regular strength training can lead to this reduction. Lower levels of inflammation directly correlate with a decrease in pain for individuals with arthritis. Reduced pain, it also can improve circulation, reduces pain. Exercise in general improves the blood flow to a certain area, and it helps deliver the proper nutrients and oxygen to joint tissues. Better circulation can promote healing and actually reduce stiffness and pain in those areas as well. And lastly, the WD-40 this is our joint lubrication. So the more our joints are lubricated, the less pain we're going to feel. So movement through strength training helps to increase this production of the synovial fluid, the fluid that encompasses the joint itself. This helps to keep the joint lubricated and decrease any pain associated with arthritis. Increased mobility. So one of the ways we get increased mobility is by improving our flexibility. And many strength training exercises involve dynamic movements that stretch and actually lengthen the muscles and the connective tissues within our muscles. This can lead to improved flexibility, which as a result improves our range of motion, like we talked about on the previous slides. It also can reduce our joint stiffness. So once our joints aren't as stiff, we have increased mobility. And through strength training, because they're more lubricated and less stiff, they become a lot easier to move through this range of motion. And as we've discovered here, strength training helps to achieve this. Like I said earlier, weight management, this is again a little self-explanatory, but strength training has shown great success in maintaining or losing weight. And this reduces the stress on our weight-bearing joints like our knees and hips. So obviously the less stress on the joints, it allows for easier and more pain-free movement. Now, our fourth one, I don't want to get all scientific because, we don't have much time, but 2, that's not why I'm here. But I did want to point this one out. Neural adaptation. So neurons are the fundamental building blocks of our nervous system, and they're responsible for sending information throughout our body. Strength training actually leads to neural adaptations that improve the efficiency of our muscle firing rates. And once they improve, this means that the nervous system becomes better at activating our muscles in a coordinated way, which improves the quality and range of motion of our joints. So just more reasons to incorporate strength training into your daily routines. Now this is my favorite part because these are going to be common myths that you'll hear if you start strength training. Maybe you've heard them in the past if you've done strength training or even just talked about it with friends. I love to debunk myths. I love to put facts to false information. So I picked out 3 main myths that I think you'll hear or encounter at least once in your strength training journey, and I'll talk about them here. So the first myth, strength training is dangerous for joints. I think I've pretty much accomplished debunking this myth already, but if that wasn't enough for you, I can go into it more. With proper guidance and techniques, strength training can reduce joint pain and stiffness. So here comes the science. In one large meta-analysis compiling information from a number of different randomized controlled trials, researchers found that strength training is beneficial for those with osteoarthritis. Older adults in the strength training group actually had significant improvements in strength and function and reduction in overall pain. Several studies have demonstrated this effectiveness of strength training, and this treatment modality was introduced by the American College of Rheumatology in 2012 as a treatment for knee and hip osteoarthritis. So we knew back 12 years ago that this was beneficial for arthritis, but no one wants to talk about it, and this myth is still lingering around. So if anyone brings this up to you, I can send you these articles. You can just hit them with the facts. To keep going, another peer-reviewed study particularly focused on benefits of exercise in those with rheumatoid arthritis. And directly from this study, I quoted, "The effects of a 2-year dynamic strength training program in RA patients found significant improvements in muscle strength, about 19 to 60%, along with reductions in systemic inflammation, pain, morning stiffness, and disease progression." Lastly, if that wasn't enough to debunk this myth, one last study published last December 2023 found that functional training and resistance exercise are similarly effective in improving functional capacity, functional status, disease progression, general quality of life, and muscle strength in patients with psoriatic arthritis. So I just gave a couple studies on how we can debunk this myth. Hopefully this misconception is not something that you believe, and hopefully I just proved my point with these evidence-based research for you. Moving on to our second myth, strength training is only for young people. People of all ages benefit from strength training, particularly those with arthritis. The American Journal of Preventive Medicine actually says currently that current research demonstrates that strength training exercises have the ability to combat weakness and frailty and their debilitating consequences. Done regularly, about 2 to 3 times per week, these exercises build muscle strength and muscle mass, preserving bone density, independence, and vitality with age. In addition, strength training also has the ability to reduce the risk of osteoporosis and the signs and symptoms of numerous chronic diseases such as heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and like we're talking about, arthritis, while also improving our sleep and reducing depression. So it's not just for the young people. And our last myth, heavy weights are necessary. Effective strength training can use light weights, it can use resistance bands, it can use body weight exercises. You can gain muscle and change the shape of your body by lifting heavier weights for fewer reps, or you can also change it with lighter weights for more reps. The key is challenging your body with progressive overload. And now progressive overload means challenging a muscle to continue to see results. If you never change the weight or you never change the amount of reps, then the muscle will no longer adapt. When you start strength training, however, with arthritis, you want to start off slow with lower weights and see how your body feels, see how it adapts. I would recommend a personal trainer and they'll be able to personalize a plan best for you and will advance your weights or your reps as time goes on. Now that we have the myths and misconceptions out of the way, what does the evidence say? So the American Heart Association actually recommends getting at least 150 minutes per week of moderate intense aerobic activity or 75 minutes of vigorous aerobic activity per week, things like swimming, biking. What people forget is in these guidelines, they also recommend adding moderate to high intensity muscle strengthening activity like resistance or weights on at least 2 days per week. They do recommend increasing the amount and intensity gradually if you're just beginning. And to gain even more benefits, they say that you should be active at least 300 minutes or 5 hours per week. So that I wanted to bring that up because a lot of people neglect the resistance training 2 times per week, but it's in the guidelines. Okay, so now you're all saying, okay, Angela, we understand arthritis. We know what happens. Maybe you experience it yourself. We understand the benefits of strength training, but how in the world do I get started? I'm a little bit intimidated. I don't know how to go about it. The first thing you want to do is set clear goals. Determine what you want to achieve. Maybe that's losing weight. That's probably a very common one. But for our purposes, let's say it's to combat arthritis. Setting a SMART goal is the best way to hold yourself accountable. So SMART stands for a goal that is specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, realistic, and time-bound. So for example, let's say my SMART goal is I want to increase holding 5-pound dumbbells while squatting to holding 10-pound dumbbells while squatting in 3 months. It's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's realistic, and it's time-bound. Once you have your goals and you're clear about what you want to achieve through strength training, I would consult a professional, as you always should. If you have existing health conditions or any health concerns about strength training, consult your physician before starting a new strength training program. I would also highly, highly recommend working with a certified personal trainer. That's what they're there for. This is their education. I'm just have my undergraduate degree in exercise science, so I'm going to give you ideas of what you can do, but our personal trainers are educated in how they can tie in your barriers or limitations into a strength training program best for you. Lastly, I would say start very simple and start very slow. Start with basic compound movements that work multiple muscle groups. For example, start with a squat or a bench press, then maybe advance to a deadlift or overhead presses. Most importantly, give yourself patience and time to get used to this type of training, and remember that you most likely won't see any changes overnight. It's about consistency, it's about sticking with it and trusting the process. I think what I read in the research was it takes 2 to 3 months to actually feel the benefits of strength training on your arthritic joints, and about 3 to 4 months to actually see the changes. So give yourself grace and be patient with it. Full disclaimer, like I just said, I am not a certified personal trainer, but I did want to give you an overview of what an ideal strength training session looks like from my perspective, from my education, and my point of view. I want you to start every session with a 5 to 10 minute warm up to increase our blood flow and prepare our muscles for exercise. A warm up increases our core body temperature and prepares our heart, muscles, and our joints for exercise. Dynamic stretching, like you see here on the left, or light cardio can be effective warm-up activities. These effective warm-up activities engage our whole body and spine. So it gets everything moving, it starts to get everything loose. You never want to neglect your warm-up activity. Once we've done the warm-up, we're feeling good, we're ready to go. Get into the arthritic friendly exercises. I've only listed 6 here. The list can go on, and these 6 all have modifications. So I just picked ones that maybe sound easy right now, but who knows? They can be more challenging. They could be more simple. The first one being a wall push-up. So as you see in the video here, it's a modified version of a traditional push-up. It's a very low impact exercise. You basically start by facing a sturdy wall about arm's length away. You place your hands flat on the wall, slightly wider than shoulder width apart, but making sure your wrists are directly below your shoulders so that that wrist joint doesn't have too much pressure on it. You want to keep your feet hip width apart and firmly planted on the ground. Inhale while you slowly bend your elbows and lean towards the wall, and then exhale as you push yourself away from the wall, straightening your arms to your upright position. The second one, which can be done a lot of different ways, is the modified squats. Again, a very low impact exercise and can be done a variety of different ways. They're exactly how they sound. Even if you wanted to perform them holding onto the back of a chair, holding onto the table, just make sure you're standing with your feet shoulder width apart or slightly wider, keeping your toes pointed out so that you don't put too much pressure on the inside of your knee joints. As you begin to lower your body, like you see in diagram 2, think of it as you're sitting back into an imaginary chair. Keep your chest lifted and avoid rounding your back. Push through your heels to stand up and get back up into the upright position. Like I said, there are a lot of different ways you can do this, and I'm more than positive your personal trainer should know at least different versions of the modified squat. Number 3 would be leg marches. So you can see in our diagram here, he's using a resistance band, but if you're just starting off with strength training, maybe you won't use the band. If you're not using the band, you're going to actually just stand and lift up one leg to the opposite hip height, put it back down, and do the same with the other leg. I would try to do them consistently first without holding on to something and then progress to the band. So maybe you start off, if you're new to strength training, you start off just by marching. Maybe if your balance is off, you hold on to something. Once you gain that balance, you let go, you're marching just free on your own. If that becomes too comfortable, then you'll add the resistance band that you see is over his feet in this diagram 3. The fourth exercise can be bicep curls. It can be done with light weights or a resistance band. If you're doing it with dumbbells, then you can either stand or sit, like in the example. You keep your arms stationary and then slowly bend your elbows, raising the dumbbells towards the shoulder. What you want to do is make sure that you keep your wrist straight throughout the movement to focus on exerting your bicep muscle. You want to continue to curl your forearms as nearly vertical and the dumbbells are close to your shoulders as possible and back down. The fifth one would be tricep extensions. It can also be done with a dumbbell or a resistance band. If done with a dumbbell, you want to follow the diagram here, number 5. If done with a resistance band, you can secure it to a sturdy object, grab the other end of the band and stand away from it, creating tension. And basically, you just want to do a little kickback with your arm, like you see in the diagram here. You want to hinge at the hips, giving a slight bend, and then just kick back your arm so you're working your tricep muscle. And lastly, the bent over row. It can be done with dumbbells, kettlebells, resistant bands. You just want to make sure that you're bending over the hips and keeping your back flat. All you're doing is a rowing motion and stopping when your arm makes an L shape so that you feel the exercise where it's meant to be felt in your upper back. Some more resistance band exercises, because I feel like these are often overlooked but can be super beneficial. Here we have things like the calf press to the left, where you see her sitting down in the chair, the band's around the ball of her foot, and she's just flexing and extending her foot. In the middle there, you have the reverse flies, working the upper back and shoulders. And then the third one would be the chest pull-aparts. So that's not only going to target your chest muscles, but also your arm muscles. I couldn't not add any more body weight exercises because I personally love them. So on the left here, you have lunges. They can be stationary lunges like you see here in the video, or you can make them walking lunges and maybe try walking 5-10 feet while lunging. In the middle, we have leg raises. And to the right is what I call clamshells. So that movement is actually working the outside muscles of your hip to make sure that the hip joint becomes more stable. Again, I can't say this enough. Please make sure you work with a certified personal trainer who will test your boundaries and limits prior to developing a personal plan best for you. I can't end my workouts without doing a cool down activity. Why is that? Ultimately, cool downs reduce any swelling or soreness post-workout. Stretches are an excellent cool down activity, as well as going for a short walk or slowly biking. It'll let your heart rate and blood pressure return back to normal, but it will also help maintain long-term flexibility benefits in the long run. Now to the good part. What is the nutritional impact that foods have on arthritis? What are the foods that promote inflammation in our bodies? What are the foods that fight against it? I've just given you the basic understanding of arthritis. I've given a basic understanding of strength training, but strength training is basically null and void if not supplemented with nutrition. So let's talk about it. Foods that promote inflammation. Sugary foods and beverages like candy, soda, pastries, other sweetened foods have been shown to increase the levels of inflammatory markers in the body. Refined carbohydrates like our white breads, our white rice, many processed foods that have high glycemic indexes, basically high amount of sugar, which leads to spikes in blood sugar, is linked to increased levels of inflammation. If there's one thing that I get across to you today, the main one point that you take home, just remember that inflammation thrives on sugar. It's a known fact, it's been proven, inflammation thrives on sugar. But it also can thrive on fried foods like French fries, fried chicken, other deep fried foods that are cooked at these high temperatures trigger inflammation. Also, processed meats often contain high levels of saturated fats, preservatives, and other additives that promote inflammation. And high consumption of red meat is associated with increased levels as well. Alcohol. Alcohol is not talked about enough, no matter what kind, beer, wine, liquor. In excess, alcohol can lead to increased inflammation and negatively affect our immune system function. So not only is it increasing the levels of inflammation, but now it's deterring our bodies from being able to fight against that inflammation. Now, that was so negative. Let's get into the good stuff. What foods fight the inflammation? Fatty fish. Fatty fish are rich in omega-3 fatty acids. Fish like salmon, mackerel, sardines, they all contain omega-3 fatty acids, which have been proven to decrease the production of inflammatory proteins in the body. Olive oil. Olive oil contains a natural compound similar to like our NSAID drugs, our non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Olive oil contains the natural compound, which reduces inflammation. Berries, like strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, they're packed with antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals, which all have anti-inflammatory properties themselves. Nuts and seeds, like almonds, walnuts, chia seeds, and flax seeds, are all rich in the omega-3s we talked about and antioxidants that reduce inflammation and provide the essential nutrients our body needs to fight off inflammation. Leafy greens also fight inflammation. Greens like spinach, kale, collard greens, they're high specifically in vitamin E and C, which together have anti-inflammatory properties and can protect the body from further damage. What are some spices and some other foods that help fight inflammation? Turmeric. So turmeric specifically contains curcumin, which is a powerful anti-inflammatory compound. Ginger also has anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. And garlic contains diallo-disulfide, which is an anti-inflammatory compound that limits the effect of pro-inflammatory cytokines. So garlic, say you do eat something on the list that helps promote inflammation, garlic can help fight this. To prove this point and to really hit home the foods that fight inflammation, I want to talk about a pilot study done in 2023. So researchers designed a 13-item anti-inflammatory diet guide based on the Mediterranean diet without including red meat, gluten, or cow's milk. So the Mediterranean diet, think of fresh fruits and vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds, olive oils. Think of a diet like that. And if you want to learn more about the Mediterranean diet, my email is at the end. Feel free to shoot me an email. I'll be more than happy to share my sources with you. So This study was done to evaluate the efficacy of this diet in patients not only with rheumatoid arthritis, but those suffering from chronic pain stemming from conditions like osteoarthritis as well. What researchers found was a correlation between increased anti-inflammatory food intake and improved physical characteristics like less stress and less pain. Moreover, it showed that decreased consumption of pro-inflammatory foods was positively correlated with overall stress on the body. The study concluded with saying that this dietary pattern could provide substantial benefits to those with chronic pain and improve arthritic symptoms overall. I also have that study. If you want me to share that with you, like I said, feel free to shoot me an email. Now, I've just told you the foods that help with arthritis, but we talked about strength training. So how can we tie it all together? How can we eat those foods to best fit your workouts? Proper nutrient timing is crucial for maximizing the benefits of strength training. By understanding when and what to eat before workouts, individuals can improve their performance, they can support their muscle growth, and enhance overall health. From the Academy of Nutrition, as a general rule of thumb, it's best not to eat immediately prior to a workout while your muscles are trying to do your thing. Your stomach is trying to simultaneously digest food. These competing demands are a challenge for optimal performance. And even more of a factor, eating too close to a workout may cause some GI discomfort. So ideally, you should fuel your body about 1 to 4 hours prior to working out, depending on how your body tolerates food. If you know that your body takes some time to digest your food, you're probably going to be on the latter end, closer to 4 hours having a meal before your workout. In a cross-sectional study of 280 resistant training adults, the research indicated that eating a full meal consisting of carbohydrates and protein 1 to 4 hours before exercising, and sometimes having a little snack containing easily digestible carbs 30 to 60 minutes before exercising helped to keep the athletes full and supply the energy they needed to get through the strength training session. So 30 to 60 minutes of a light carbohydrate snack, that's something like that's straight sugar, maybe gummy bears or maybe a granola bar, something like that. So it's super light, but it's full of sugar that the athletes can use immediately during their strength training session. Post-workout, to maximize recovery, the Academy recommends eating 30 minutes to 1 hour post-workout. Anything else, really, as time goes on past 1 hour, the benefits of timing your nutrition with your workout severely decline. They say to eat meals balanced in carbohydrates and protein, and I'll go into ideal pre and post-workout meals right after this. Before I can do that, I talked about carbohydrates and protein, so I can't go on without briefly discussing the role of each. So carbohydrates firstly play a role in providing our energy. It can be stored in different forms. In the muscles and in the liver particularly, they're stored as glycogen. During strength training, glycogen is the primary source of energy. Adequate glycogen stores ensure that our muscles have the necessary fuel to perform effectively and withstand the intensity of our strength training exercise. Also, carbohydrates can be broken down quickly into glucose, which is used to produce ATP, the primary energy carrier in cells. This rapid ATP production is crucial for powering our muscle contractions during resistance exercise. So as you can see, both forms are utilized during strength training, glycogen and glucose. So it's absolutely crucial to get a good amount and carbohydrates from good sources prior to exercise. On the side here, I just listed a few good sources of carbohydrates to have, but the list can go on and on. But to name a few, we have oatmeal, pasta, bananas, potatoes, rice, and any sort of whole grain bread. Now to the role of protein. Protein is so essential for muscle repair and growth. Because strength training does cause these microscopic breaks in our muscle, we need to have protein to replenish this and provide the necessary amino acids for muscle repair. This process is called muscle protein synthesis. Adequate protein is essential for rebuilding and strengthening the muscle fibers that were broken that make up our muscles. Protein during and after intense strength training actually helps prevent this muscle breakdown. So during and after intense strength training, the body enters this catabolic, this breakdown state where the muscle protein breakdown exceeds the muscle protein synthesis. So if you're consuming adequate amounts of protein post-workout, it reduces this breakdown and helps keep a positive protein balance, crucial for muscle maintenance and growth. Great sources I listed here to the right include eggs, protein powders, which now come in all different kinds of forms these days, meats, chicken, nuts, and seeds. Ideal pre-workout meals. So an ideal pre-workout meal is a balance between carbohydrates and protein, really with an emphasis on the carbohydrates. To the left here, I've included a peanut butter overnight oats recipe. This is an awesome meal to have before a workout, providing you with carbohydrates, protein, and even some fats from the nut butters. In this recipe, they also include the MCT oil if you want to include that with just another source of fat, but I personally don't add that. And to the right, I have included avocado toast with eggs different ways. This is usually my go-to as it doesn't make me feel as full as the overnight oats do, but it still provides me with the energy I need to get through the workout. And if you want recipes on different types of avocado toast, if you want more ideal pre-workout ideals, send me an email at the end, and I'd be more than happy to share with you more recipes. Ideal post-workout meals. So kind of the opposite to the pre-workout. You are having the same balance of same idea, carbohydrates and proteins, but this emphasis is going to be on the protein. This helps to repair muscle tissues, but the carbohydrates are still there to replenish our glycogen stores. Some ideas for a post-workout meal would be a smoothie with a protein powder, banana, almond milk, spinach, and peanut butter. Blend that all together and you're set with your protein needs. If you're looking for more so like a meal, you could do something like a grilled chicken with quinoa and vegetables to give you a good blended mix of protein, carbs, and fats, or you can do a summer salad like you see here on the right that has the chicken, nuts, seeds, fruits, and that gives you the good mix of the protein, carbs, and fats too. Lastly, I would be remiss if I didn't share that proper hydration is absolutely vital to ensure peak performance and recovery. The American College of Sports Medicine suggests that one should consume about 500 milliliters of fluid, which is about 16 ounces, 2 hours prior to exercise to promote appropriate adequate hydration. So the CDC recommends men getting 125 ounces of water a day and women getting 91 ounces of water a day. So this doesn't include just water, but water from just drinking water, but water from all food sources like fruits and vegetables. As a general rule of thumb, and from my experience, I like to go by drinking half my body weight in ounces. And if I'm working out extra hard or I do a strength day, adding an additional 500 milliliters of water. That works for me, but play around with it and see what works best for you. If you are on any sort of medications where drinking a large amount is not possible, you have to consult your physician, please, and just tell them what's going on. An easy way to track your hydration is by observing your urine color throughout the day, and that's what the scale is here to the right. The paler yellow urine usually suggests proper hydration, while the darker urine typically signals the need for more fluids. If you don't want to look at your urine, another approach involves weighing yourself before and after workout so that you can see the lost weight during your workout and replenish that amount with fluids. Naturally, also feeling thirsty is a clear sign that the body is requiring more fluids. So you've listened to my spiel, you've heard me ramble. What did we accomplish today? In conclusion, we accomplished that strength training offers a multitude of benefits for individuals with arthritis. I hope I was able to make that clear for you today. From the physical improvements like increased muscle strength, joint stability, reduced pain and inflammation, to even, I touched on the neural adaptations. By starting slowly and adapting exercises and fueling the body with the right nutrients and doing that at the right time, those with arthritis can safely and effectively incorporate strength training into their daily routines, ultimately reclaiming their mobility and improving their overall quality of life. Here are my resources. Like I said, we pride ourselves on evidence-based resources at Rutgers. And I also said that my email would be at the end. I hope I did not bore you at all today, and that I hope I was able to get at least one point across. Please feel free to email me and reach out with any questions you have. I would love nothing more than to keep the conversation going, as these are two big passions of mine. Thank you all so much for your time, and thank you, Rachel, for letting me have this lecture today.